Welcome to the Calm Analytics channel. I'm Boris Tiesenghausen. Today is April 25th. The main news at this moment. Another massive attack on Ukraine. Russians launched 666 aerial targets at us today. Very symbolic for Putin, it seems. 619 of those were drones, along with cruise and ballistic missiles. Most of the drones and missiles today were launched at Dnipro. They also attacked Kharkiv, Kherson, and the Odessa region. Once again, strikes on residential buildings. A 4-story building in Dnipro was partially destroyed and several others were damaged. Many people were injured. This is what military targets look like according to Putin. Take a look. Dnipro has been under attack since yesterday evening. I wish a speedy recovery to everyone who was injured. Unfortunately, 4 deaths have been confirmed as of this moment. My condolences to those who lost loved ones today. Stay strong, Dnipro. Ukraine is with you. As for Putin, he has no success on the front, and apparently he won't. And so, like a true textbook world-class terrorist, he's intensifying strikes on civilians to somehow try to achieve his goals. And here's another reason why this Botoxed ghoul is raging so much. Ukraine successfully attacked military targets on the territory of the Russian Federation. A repeat strike on the Novokubishevsk refinery, that's a Rosneft oil refinery, and this plant is now out of commission. It was first attacked on April 18th, and they finished it off yesterday. A very painful blow to Russia's fuel and energy complex. Millions of tons of petroleum products are effectively blocked for an indefinite period. One of the key oil refineries in the Samara industrial hub. Its design capacity is estimated at 10 million tons of oil per year. Well, our drones just went ahead and shut it down. But that's not all. A landmark event happened today. A military target was attacked as far away as Chelyabinsk. 2 hits on the Chelyabinsk Red Banner Military Higher Aviation School of Navigators. It's the only educational institution in Russia that trains military navigator engineers. And why is it a landmark event? 1,850 kilometers from the Ukrainian border in a straight line. Well, obviously the drones didn't fly in a straight line. The drones traveled 2,000 kilometers to strike this school where Russian killers are trained. This isn't just some ordinary barracks. It's a unique center in Russia for training military navigator engineers and combat control officers. So this is a really serious target. Why is this important? Because drones are now reaching as far as the Urals. And for those with children or relatives studying there, I remind you that if Ukrainian drones set a target, they will definitely finish it off. Russian pilots who are responsible, including for today's shelling of Ukraine, and navigators are an absolutely legitimate target. Remember that. Well, and another event has occurred. There are drone strikes in Yekaterinburg. Details will follow soon. And that's also 1,800 kilometers from the border in a straight line, meaning the Urals are no longer a rear area in the Russian Federation. That's why Putin is raging. If before the Urals were indeed perceived as a safe industrial military rear, now Chelyabinsk and Yekaterinburg are part of the war map. Naturally, no air defense systems in Russia will be enough to protect the entire territory of the Russian Federation at such a depth. And the main question probably that Russians should ask themselves is, how did drones fly 2,000 kilometers across the entire country? And another question that Russians might be afraid to ask themselves, if Putin shuts off their internet because of drones, yet drones fly calmly to such a depth, then why shut off their internet? Well, I showed you yesterday how Putin tried to formulate something from his cards, where something was written in a 100-point font, and he still couldn't formulate it. Well, and Ukrainian warriors, true heroes, broke the Russian spring offensive and continued to destroy the occupiers. In every episode, we have an important fundraiser for the defense forces of Ukraine. Today, we continue the fundraiser for those who protect our sky, for the soldiers of the 130th Anti-Aircraft Missile and Artillery Regiment, Aquila, a fundraiser for a pickup truck for our soldiers. This is an air defense unit of the legendary 3rd Army Corps. It is currently fighting in the Kharkiv direction. The soldiers recorded a video message for you. Please take a look.
Усім вітання! Ми бійці 1030-го зенітного ракетно-артилерійського полку «Aquila», підрозділу ППО 3-го армійського корпусу, відкриваємо збір разом із читачами каналу Бориса Тізенгаузена на пікап для виконання бойових завдань на Харківському напрямку. Кожного дня ми знищуємо ворога в небі і не даємо йому дістатися до мирних міст. Наша ціль – 500 тисяч гривень. Допоможіть нам, а ми допоможемо наблизити перемогу. Слава Україні! Героям слава!
Let's help our warriors, especially since there's so little left to go. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. There's Mono, Private, and PayPal for those who want to help from abroad. The Aquila fighters protect us, so let's help them. In every episode, I say a huge thank you to you for helping Ukraine and supporting our warriors. If you happen to be watching on another channel, the QR code in the corner always leads to the fundraiser. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has spoken out against the US administration's idea to invite, wait for it, Putin to the G20 summit in the US. What do I want to ask? You heard that right. Trump is inviting Putin to the G20 summit in the US. All members of the G20 will be invited to participate in meetings of ministers, heads of state and government. This was stated by a high-ranking US government official. All means that Putin will also receive an invitation to the summit. And Trump says that Putin's presence at the summit would be useful. Since the full-scale invasion, Putin hasn't participated in a single G20 summit. And now in Russia, it's just a celebration and pure joy. Russian media are trumpeting, look, there's no isolation, Putin is expected in the US. Russian media have already reported that an official US invitation was sent at the highest level. Simonian, the chief propagandist of the Russia Today channel, published a video with Trump's remarks. Look at that, our friend again. Maybe Trump should be just reminded that Putin has an international criminal court warrant for stealing 20,000 children from Ukraine. Though who am I appealing to for justice? I mean, seriously, Trump knows all this perfectly well. He doesn't give a damn. Trying to shame him with stolen children? I'm begging you. They've been thinking in different categories for a long time. Shame him with the dead, thousands of killed Ukrainians. Yeah, but I'm grateful, very grateful to the brave Giorgia Meloni for her clearly stated position. I really hope that other European leaders will also find the courage to state directly that they won't sit at the summit next to a murderer and child kidnapper. You know, the most dangerous thing here isn't even Putin's presence at the table. The most dangerous thing is the image, the photos of handshakes, the common hall, flags, smiles. For the Kremlin, this will be more valuable than any loophole for bypassing sanctions. I mean, Russian propaganda will then spin the same thing for months. There's no isolation. We've been recognized. See, the West is tired. See, with Putin, European leaders even shook hands. An invitation to Putin is, by the way, a signal not only to Moscow, but also to Beijing, Tehran, Pyongyang. That is, it sounds like this. If you have enough nuclear blackmail, if you have enough resources, audacity, and cash, then the rules can be pushed through. This completely undermines deterrence all around the world. For Europe, by the way, this is also a moment of truth. If some leaders quietly swallow such normalization, it means they're trying to decide Europe's security without Europe again. And another thing, by the way, Trump might think he's inviting Putin for some deal, that he'll reach an agreement with him there. But authoritarian leaders don't come to platforms like these for compromise. They come for the status. I mean, would Putin really trade real concessions for some empty photo op? Never in his life. He'll take the photo op for free, take all those photos and handshakes and go home. Just like it was in Alaska. And then they'll spend a long time talking about the spirit of Anchorage, which somehow appeared only to Putin, Lavrov, and no one else. If a child killer is returned to the red carpet without consequences, then the problem isn't even Putin anymore. For the whole world, and for the whole world, in this case, the problems are only just beginning. By the way, friends, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Let's fight together against the propaganda of authoritarian and dictatorial regimes. The more people there are on the bright side, the more hope there is that this world will finally turn in the right direction. So be sure to subscribe. Russia's economy has slowed down due to a large number of holidays for Russians, bad weather, and tax changes. This is an official statement from the Central Bank of Russia. Remember, Putin recently said that the Russian economy has problems because Russians had 3 extra days off and bad weather. And now this has been officially confirmed on the central bank's website. So, not because of the war. No, of course not. 3 days off for Russians, and what else was there? Bad weather. The logic is very simple now. The Botox degenerate makes absolutely crazy statements, and then official websites somehow tailor the theory to fit that statement. So the task is to justify even the craziest statement by Putin. And here's something that could be a pretty serious blow to the gut of the regime, Putin's regime. The European Union is preparing the 21st package of sanctions against Russia, and they could affect oligarchs and the Russian Orthodox Church. Finally, hallelujah, they should have started with the Aros in the first place. It's an FSB nest. So, while there's no official text yet, this topic is being discussed in leaks. Church patriarchs and church structures that publicly support the war and help state propaganda could end up on this list. So we're not talking about banning religion. Obviously, Russia will push that narrative, but about possible sanctions against individual hierarchs, foundations, influence structures, and people who support the aggression politically or financially. There's a high probability that Patriarch Kirill will finally end up on the sanctions list. Orban used to personally jump on the grenade for him, but now the defender of the FSB Patriarch is crying in a corner somewhere, and there's no one left to defend him. By the way, the Patriarch has a nephew who serves as a rector in Europe and represents the ROC there, also an FSB agent, 100%. I think he's also a candidate for being added to that list. And now representatives of the Russian world have decided to lecture their neighbors again on how to live. The European Union mission in Armenia will allow the EU to interfere in the country's internal affairs, stated Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zakharova. The goal of this mission isn't to monitor flows, but to influence, to exert political influence and manipulate. How does this even concern you or the Russian Federation? On the other hand, Russia never interferes in the internal affairs of other countries. Everyone knows that, right? It didn't interfere in Georgia in 2008, nor in Syria. And it especially doesn't interfere in Ukraine. It's just amazing. They're constantly trying to teach others what they can't even create for themselves. What do they even care about what happens in other countries? We could all be walking around here without pants. What's it to you what we do on our Maidans? What's the difference? And there's such concern for Europeans. Just the other day, Shoigu stated, the European Union's loan to Ukraine will be a heavy burden on European pensioners. Oh, how they care for European pensioners, even more than their own. And how are Russian pensioners doing? Or rather surviving? Has Putin already pulled everyone out of the slums, rehoused them, and given them decent health care, right? It's interesting that for the Russian world, the independence of neighbors only begins where Russian interests end. Meaning, if a neighbor suddenly doesn't choose Moscow, it means they were dragged in, deceived, or cheated. How else does Putin put it? According to the Kremlin, no one can leave Russia on their own. It's such a wonderful country that no one leaves voluntarily. Only under the West's hypnosis. When someone breaks free from Russia's influence, they go through a real withdrawal. Well, good for Armenia, I'll take this chance to send them my best. And another one from the same series. Bringing nuclear weapons into Finland and storing them there will turn the Republic into a target. For the army of the Russian Federation, that's State Duma Deputy Andrei Kartapolov. Russia is again pretending it just doesn't understand cause and effect. Finland was neutral for decades. It didn't ask for NATO, didn't host nuclear weapons, didn't become a target, but then Russia attacked Ukraine and Finland joined NATO in record time. So Kartapolov is now essentially threatening Finland with the consequences of what they themselves started, what Putin started. It's actually strange that no one in Russia is asking questions of their underground withered macho man. And how did it happen that Putin's policy led to Russia, first of all, getting involved in a senseless and catastrophic war for itself, neighbors joining NATO, and Europe arming itself at record speed? Putin, how did that happen? Answer why Russia has fallen into a critical dependency on China. The Russian economy is riding a burning bicycle straight into the abyss. Doesn't anyone want to ask Putin some questions there? Putin isn't containing NATO. Putin is expanding NATO. He's like, yeah, come right up to our borders, hurry up. So Putin turns out to be a saboteur, it seems. By the way, fans of the Russian world seriously think that Finland just woke up one day with the thought, hey, let's become a problem for Russia. We're bored here, yeah, we want some action. Let's become a problem for Russia. Like the Finns' life goal is to create problems for Russians. They dream of this Russian world barging in on them with garlic and vodka breath. Well, by the way, I'll remind Deputy Kartapolov that the USSR once barged into Finland with its own world. They plan to finish the war in a few days, as they say, Helsinki in 3 days, and to present Finland to Stalin on a silver platter for his birthday. In the end, the Finns taught the Red Army such a lesson that they just remembered it for life. Well, it's also important to remember that it's okay to transfer nuclear weapons to Belarus, but not to Finland, even though it was from Belarusian territory that Russian troops, among others, attacked Ukraine. But overall, of course, let them sit in the Kremlin and keep quiet. Hardly anyone is interested in your opinion anymore. They'll deploy them and they won't ask you. By the way, Finland has bunkers where the whole country can fit. And how are things going with that in Russia, huh? And here's some news on the topic of bunkers. Russian rich people have started buying up bunkers in New Zealand. So while the bald centipede surrounds his residence in Valdai with additional air defense systems, 27 towers, for a second, he's already built there. Wealthy Russians are investing millions of rubles in houses with underground bunkers in New Zealand. Local real estate agencies report this. Businessmen from Russia are buying up real estate with bunkers, or building bunkers afterwards. Recently, the demand for real estate there has tripled. What's the matter? Don't they trust Russian air defense? It all seems a bit wrong. I've heard, by the way, that Russians are buying housing with bunkers not only in New Zealand, but also in Portugal and other countries. I know that I have subscribers all over the world. If you have this information, email me. It's in the channel description. It's very interesting how it's all happening there. But the most interesting thing here, of course, isn't the bunkers, but that on TV, their Russia is rising from its knees. Air defense shoots everything down. The West is decaying. New Zealand is far away. It's foreign and hostile. But when it comes to their own skin, money and kids, it suddenly turns out they want to seek safety not in Kursk or Voronezh, but on the other side of the globe. Well, because the Russian elites understand perfectly that the country they created for everyone else isn't suitable for them. Not suitable. There you can keep people in a stable, feed them propaganda, make them knit socks, die for the TV, I don't know, steal cash from those people. You can do all that in Russia. But to live, get treatment, educate children, keep money, hide from the consequences of their own policies, they prefer to do in completely different countries. And another very telling and important piece of news, I think. In Moscow, they didn't hold the first parade rehearsal at the usual time. That is, usually 2 weeks before May 9th, they held a rehearsal in Moscow. In past years, by today, April 25th, the first rehearsal had always been held, and before that, they'd put special markings on the roads downtown. They're not holding it, not marking it. The Botox jelly is so scared he's probably sitting in his dungeons thinking how to both hold and not hold the parade at the same time. Or they're afraid of being humiliated before the whole world. And imagine, an air raid siren during the parade, they'll just scatter from the stands like cockroaches in all directions. Not a great look for the global media, right? I really hope that we get to see that picture. Though there's a feeling that he's scared, the little creep is scared. Well, May 9th is coming, so we'll see. As for you, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, subscribe to this channel, don't forget. And I'm asking you, let's help our air defense fighters. The donation link is in the description of this video. It's Aquila, fighting in the Kharkiv direction. Have a peaceful day, everyone, and glory to Ukraine.